a senior social policy analyst for the social policy unit at the Shelleys. Paul Barber joins us. Paul, kia ora, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, kia ora, and wishing you and all the listeners a Merry Christmas as well.
When it comes to social housing, big aspirational goals from the current government, from the coalition government, to reduce emergency housing. This is one of their big targets. Some reports out recently. Is there good news in the reports? I imagine there's still a long way to go.
Yes, the government has set itself 9 targets, officially called government targets, about what they want to do to change while they're in government. And one of those targets is indeed around reducing the number of people in emergency housing. And I guess there is, like there so often is, some good news there and some not so good news.
Yep.
Overall, emergency housing is that time where people come to seek help from MSD, the work and income,
Yep.
and they're given a grant to be able to stay like in a motel or a boarding house situation for a short term. That's the idea of it. We've had thousands during the COVID time. That became a solution for helping people find some shelter in a time when we were in crisis.
Yep.
And numbers peaked around 6,000 at that stage, with about 10,000 people altogether. Those numbers have been dropping, and the government has set a target to drive them down further from 3,100 in the middle of last year. And indeed, within a year of that, they've now reduced that number well down to below 1,000 people in emergency housing. So that is a pretty huge change.
That is good news if those people have been moved from emergency housing into stable, affordable accommodation. Not such good news if there's also been at the same time an increase in homelessness, and that's the other side of the ledger, I suppose.
Exactly, and we've been watching with alarm as we've really been seeing the number of people very, very visibly homeless, like you see on the streets, people coming into the services like community ministries for us at the Salvation Army who do not have anywhere to live, and are unable to get assistance, for instance, emergency housing grant, because they're told they're not eligible, or there's a whole struggle process. So while some of those people have been coming off out of emergency housing, have definitely been getting into social housing, into housing such as our own Salvation Army social housing, or into transitional housing programs, which are about helping people stabilize and get into that. Probably about at least 20% of those people, that's several hundred people, we don't know what's happened to them, and we can suggest, I've been busy collecting the information the last few months about just what's been going on around those in our community ministries, in the services like Housing First, and the city missions around the place, and the consistent messages: greater need, more people struggling.
And with some recent changes, with the tough financial year that many people have had, with unemployment being up and pressure coming from all sorts of sectors, including from MSD, there'll be some people who are not just homeless again, but perhaps even homeless for the first time as we head to Christmas.
That is unfortunately how it looks at the moment. There is, I guess we struggle to put formal data or measurement around, and I think that's something that we're really wrestling with right now with the other NGOs, about how on earth you do count homelessness, because it's incredibly difficult. And it doesn't help, for instance, while the government itself has not got a program around attempting to measure homelessness. So we don't really know exactly, and so we have to rely on some localized counts. And one of the things that really needs to be done is to organize that to be more systematic and regular, so that the government can actually be held accountable for that goal to reduce homelessness, which is what we ultimately want.
These are complex situations. For some people, it may be that even there's a choice to be homeless, and problems with family breakdown and mental health difficulties and addictions. These are complicated issues. But wanting to focus in particular on an area, and I know there's a report on this out recently, looking in particular at homelessness in women, and in particular women with children. Nobody with children chooses to be homeless.
Yes, well, if we go back to thinking of Jesus' first night on this planet,
Yeah.
this is our vision, is that no one should be homeless. And this recent report that's been released, Ngā Ara Ki Te Kāinga, about understanding the barriers and solutions to women's homelessness is a fantastic resource. And if say to listeners, if there's nothing else you do, if want a bit of reading over the Christmas period, this report, it's not long. It really gives you, it includes the experiences of women and homelessness and tries to bring their voices into this and the realities of their lives and the incredibly difficult choices that people face, the pressures, and what leads to that homelessness. And also, it's not as visible, women's homelessness, and that's really the point. And neither in our responses to homelessness is the particular experience of women homeless. For instance, women who are pregnant, have young children. It's not a good situation to be in a crowded emergency housing setup where there's not enough room and there's a whole mix of people that it doesn't work for children, families.
Certainly.
So this report is a really good resource recognizing the multiple issues, the issues that are very important around what's called intimate partner violence, domestic violence. And that women may remain in situations that are literally dangerous for them and for their children because there is no alternative. And those are some of the realities of what homelessness means right now is, and the interconnectedness of the problem that it is relates to other issues. The report also really highlights the issues of mental health and addiction that can lead to people ending in homelessness because of other problems. And so it emphasizes we need a gendered approach. We need to recognize that special experience, and we need to really focus on a broad-based approach. And this is where it comes back to that discussion around getting people out of emergency housing. Well, just getting them out isn't the point. It's getting them to somewhere better is the point, and getting the support around people.
We have got some good news on this because, I mean, it can be pretty bleak reading. And as you say, there's some statistics, but there's also individuals with heartbreaking stories behind each and every one of those numbers. But some good news, particularly for Levin, a new social housing centre opened by the Salvation Army.
Yes, I guess right now as we're speaking is the opening of 52 new social housing units that the Salvation Army has built in Levin, thanks to the properties being leased on land that has been made available by Wayne Bishop, who's a philanthropist. And this is a real, Levin, when I've been looking at the data for our State of the Nation report, Levin is actually has one of the highest levels of rental unaffordability in the country. You know, people will be facing rents that take up more than 50% of their income across Levin. And the housing need, people waiting for social housing, has been growing as a result. And so this is where the Salvation Army wants to be part of the solution. This is where we know there are solutions. And this is the response we hope to that wider issue of homelessness, is to provide affordable, stable, and good quality housing that builds communities for people. So there is hope this Christmas, and literally hope for those 52 families who'll be moving into, who are, already moved. This is today celebrating that all 52 units are now.
That is fantastic. And a brighter Christmas for those 52 families in Levin. I'm not sure it was intentional, but I love the Christmas pun that you put in there, Paul, about stable accommodation. And we circle back to Christmas and the Nativity story again. Hey, Paul, really appreciate what you and the team do at this social policy unit of the Salvation Army. Very Merry Christmas to you. Thanks for what you do. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, I wish all the listeners a really hope-filled Christmas, and let's work together on these challenges we have, fueled by the hope that the Christmas season brings. Yes, so thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.